since the time has started, maybe we could begin. Unfortunately, our dean will not be joining us. So in his name and in all of ours name and the organization team, hello and welcome to the Iustoria 2021, to our second International Student Conference. This year's subject is Law and Religion. We are very happy to have all of you here. Perhaps those people who aren't speaking at the moment could turn off their microphones because we have some slight reverberation. So our dean, Professor Zoran Milković, who is also a professor of Serbian legal history, is very sorry that he cannot be with us right now, but there is a blackout in his part of town, so there is no electricity, so he literally cannot join us. He sends his greetings and his wishes for successful work of this conference, as well as his wishes that next year's conference will be held live at our faculty, as we had hoped that both last year's and this year's would be, but unfortunately, vismajev. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Professor Milena Polojac, who is the head of our Department of Legal History and the professor of Roman Law. Just turn on your microphone.
Sorry. Thank you very much, dear colleagues, dear students. I'm very glad that a student conference in legal history, Iustoria, is organized for the second time in spite of this very specific situation. I'm grateful to my younger colleagues from the chair of legal history and students of our faculty who organized this conference with great enthusiasm. I'm also grateful to all participants, first of all to students who show interest in legal history and prepare interesting and good research papers. Many thanks also to our renowned professors who supported the idea of this kind of conference and were prepared to give lectures for this occasion. The topic Law and Religion attracted students from different universities all over the world and from countries with different religious and legal traditions. Our congresses are not only law students, but also those who study history, theology, art, political sciences, classical studies, and other humanities. Many papers have a multidisciplinary approach and are dedicated to different religions, from pagan religion, Eastern and Western Christianity, Islamic and Jewish religion and law, to Shintoism. So all in all, this is one very international, multi-confessional and multidisciplinary conference. No wonder, because religion is so important in our lives, whether we are aware of it or not, whether we are theists, atheists, or agnostics. Serbia is one of the countries in which role of religion and church undergone radical changes, starting from medieval state when ties between law and religion, state and Christian Orthodox Church were extremely close, through multi-confessional state of Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenians, till times when in socialist or communist Yugoslavia, religion was suppressed and the historical role of church and religion underestimated or even neglected. But as a professor of Roman law, I would like to stress particularly an aspect of relation and connection between secular civil law and religion. Some of these facts are very well known and others are sometimes neglected. In the early antiquity, Roman law was closely related to religion. It started to develop by the interpretation of priests, pontifices, who were the first Roman lawyers. Later on, in the pagan Roman Empire, a new monotheistic religion was born and it started to influence civil law. A relation between Roman state and Christian church, which from forbidden religion became state religion, is a very well-known fact. In the Middle Ages, Roman law and canon law of the Catholic Church were earliest scholarly disciplines at Bologna University. Jus utrumque, both laws, was used as a qualification for students who studied both laws, Roman law and canon law. It also indicated that relation between Roman and canon law became very close. At the end, expression both laws referred to two aspects of one single system, jus commune, applied for the whole Europe. Roman and canon law mutually enriched each other in framing basic legal concepts, especially of private law, such as, for example, contract, tort, culpa, and many others. And famous legal rule essential for theory of contracts, pacta sunt servanda, or better, pacta quantumque nuda servanda sunt, was formulated in canon law with the obvious reference to Roman law. I would also like to stress that great theologian Thomas Aquinas, in his doctrine Integrated Holy Scriptures, Philosophy of Aristotle, and Roman law. His theory of restitution was very important for many concepts of private law. And his followers, moral theologians in 16th and 17th century from the famous school of Salamanca were also law experts. Some of them were professors of theology and Roman law at the same time. They wrote voluminous systematic treatises entitled De Justitia et Jure, on justice and law, treating various branches of law theoretically and casuistically, and they integrated religion, law, and morality. They often use arguments from Roman law in making their doctrines. Some of the famous natural lawyers were very much influenced by their ideas and doctrines, like, for example, Hugo Gross, who is considered one of the greatest lawyers of all times. With these basic remarks concerning only one single aspect of the relation between law and religion, I would like once again to thank the organizers, especially Nina, and all participants, and I wish to all of you a very successful conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Polojac. I give the floor now to our colleague Dalibor Đukić, who is Professor of Ecclesiastical Law at our faculty and a member of the organizing committee of this conference.
Thank you, dear Nina. Dear students, esteemed colleagues, for me, as a teacher of ecclesiastical law or church law, it is really great pleasure to be here today with you and to address you at this event. I'm especially glad that the main topic of our conference this year is law and religion. This is an extremely wide topic that covers different approaches and different periods of history. Probably this is the reason why one of the great European historians, Leopold von Ranke, wrote that church-state relations are or constitute 2/3 of the entire human history. And in this particular speech, I would like to start with one similarity between the law and religion. And this similarity is that both of them, it is almost impossible to define. It is almost impossible to define religion and law. You can find, of course, in the literature, plenty definitions of law and even more of religion, but still there is no commonly accepted precise definition of them. This statement maybe won't help you in your research, but it shows the extent of the scope of the law and religion research. The second similarity, and probably a problem for researchers, is the fact that those terms have ancient roots. In many pre-modern societies and pre-modern legal traditions, the connection between law and religion is underscored by the absence of a separate term for the law. For example, in Hinduism, the term dharma means not only law, but also religion and proper conduct, among other things. Other examples that probably are more familiar to you are Torah and Sharia. I do not have time now to speak more about those legal traditions. The third and probably the most, let's say, dangerous problem for us is widespread tendency in modern secular society to view law and religion as unrelated, or maybe as they may from time to time come into conflict. Historically, as I already said, there have been close connections between law and religion, and in some cases, this connection had been extended to an identity. These connections actually demonstrate that the concept of law as inherently secular is highly, let's say, anachronistic and should be regarded with the great suspicion. Most authors, especially from those who belong to common law legal tradition, consider that legal positivism and its political theory of law is responsible for the, I call it, modern wall of separation between law and religion. Probably it could be considered, but that is maybe something that we should discuss in the future. Now, when speaking about law and religion, that would be the first level. The second level of those relations should be the relation between the organizations that make them effective in society. The state on one hand and religious organizations on the other. As much as it is difficult to distinguish between law and religion, it is equally difficult to make the distinction between the state and religious organizations, churches, religious communities, in pre-modern societies. The situation changed after the Reformation of the Church, and especially after the French Revolution. Over time, the secularism or laïcité became the new standard in regulation of relations between state and communities of believers, of religious communities. Here I would like to tell a few words only about a very important distinction between secularism and secularity. Both of them, secularity and secularism, are linked to the same general historical process of secularization, but they have different meanings, and most important, they have different practical implications. By secularity, I mean an approach to religion-state relations that avoids the identification of the state with any particular religion or ideology, including secularism as ideology itself. From the other side, secularism is an ideology or ideological position that is committed to the promoting of secular order, or from the Roman Catholic point of view, secularism is a negative conception of separation between church and state, in which even church is denied some basic rights. So this distinction, I believe, is extremely important for the correct understanding of the secular principle in modern societies and in modern law and law traditions. And as I said, that the third level of relations between law and religion, state and religious organization should be the level of relations between, let's say, the objects of law and religion, the relations between man with capital M and God, man and the sacred, humans and the transcendental. Although the relations between law and religion, state and church, man and God, and when I use this term God, I do not use it in confessional way, in confessional meaning. It cannot be described on the way that will be applicable to entire human history. There is almost one term, one word that was and that is always crucial for these relations. This key word is balance. From the beginning of history until now, priests and jurists, church and state officials, common people, lay people and clerics have been searching for the balance between, let's say, Johan would say, sacred and profane, between the sacred and profane, between church and state, between the law, in some way, law and religion. With all the above said, we can really see that there is a valid reason to inquire into the relations between law and religion, especially their historical connections, as means of better understanding the present and potentially as a guide to the future. At the end, I would like to wish everyone productive meetings, productive sessions, and best luck, good luck with your future endeavors. Thank you all. Thank you, Nina.